Hi, everyone. Welcome back. So, we've got a fun one today. And if you have the beginning of February, and February is Heart Health Month, and I want to talk about something that almost never gets discussed when we talk about women's heart health, and that is, you guessed it, your gut. So, most of us were taught that heart health is about cholesterol, blood pressure, and maybe genetics, but while those matter, they're not the full picture, especially for us women in perimenopause or menopause and beyond. So, what I see over and over again is women who are doing everything right. They eat well, they exercise, they tried every diet under the sun, and yet their labs start creeping up. Their inflammation is high, they're tired, they're anxious, they're bloated, and yet no one can explain why. And that's where the gut comes in. So, your gut isn't just about digestion. It's a control center for inflammation, for hormones, for blood sugar, for immune function, and yes, also your heart. So when your gut is healthy, it acts like a really strong barrier. It keeps the good stuff in and the bad stuff out. But when that barrier is compromised, what we often call leaky gut, things that should never be in your bloodstream start getting through. Now, one of the biggest issues is bacterial toxins. So, these come from certain gut bacteria, and when they leak into circulation, your immune system ends up going on high alert. And here's the key: your body doesn't care where inflammation comes from. Inflammation is inflammation, y'all. And if it's coming from your gut, it still affects your blood vessels, it still affects your heart, and it still affects your cardiovascular system. So, this is why chronic gut issues are just not, or I'm sorry, just not just digestive problems. They're actually a whole body stressor. Now, I want to make this really real for a second. So, how many of you have dealt with bloating, with constipation, with diarrhea, or food sensitivities, but yet you were told that your labs were fine? You know, you felt off, you went to the doctor, you requested some labs, and then they came back and they said, everything looks fine, you're fine. You know, how many of you have anxiety or heart palpitations and you're told it's just stress? How many of you feel inflamed, you feel puffy or exhausted after eating, even when you're eating healthy? These are not random symptoms, they're gut signals. And when gut inflammation is present long enough, it creates something called systematic inflammation. That means inflammation everywhere, not just in the gut. And systematic inflammation damages the lining of blood vessels, it makes cholesterol stickier, it increases plaque formation, and it disrupts blood pressure regulation. This is why we can't talk about heart health without talking about inflammation. And we can't talk about inflammation without talking about, you guessed it, the gut. So let's talk about cholesterol for a minute, because this is where a lot of women get scared. Like cholesterol, like just that term of cholesterol just kind of makes some people kind of cringe a little bit. Cholesterol is not the villain it's been made out to be. Cholesterol is actually part of our body's repair system. When blood vessels are irritated or inflamed, cholesterol shows up to help patch things up. Like they actually try to help us. So when cholesterol numbers are elevated, the better question is, how do I lower my cholesterol? It's not how I lower my cholesterol, it's why is my body inflamed in the first place? So a lot of times you get your labs back and you see your cholesterol is elevated, and the first question is how do I bring this down? But the better question should be, why is this up? Like, why is my body inflamed in the first place? And in many women, the answer is gut inflammation, blood sugar instability, chronic stress, and hormone changes. So this becomes even more important in perimenopause and menopause. Why? Because estrogen is protective for the heart. As estrogen fluctuates, women become more sensitive to inflammation, insulin resistance, and stress as a whole. And here's the piece most women don't know: your gut is responsible for helping metabolize and eliminate estrogen. If the gut's not working well, if you're constipated, if you're inflamed, if you're dealing with dysbiosis, estrogen doesn't clear properly. That imbalance adds even more cardiovascular stress to the body. So, this is why so many women say, nothing changed, but suddenly my body feels different. Like some common gut related issues that quietly stress the heart are chronic constipation or sluggish digestion, dysbiosis or bacterial overgrowth in the intestine, poor bile flow, this is a big one, blood sugar crashes or spikes, high histamine or mast cell activation, nutrient deficiencies, especially magnesium and B vitamins, and ongoing stress that disrupts the gut brain connection. So these can show up as palpitations, as anxiety, as fatigue, as headaches, as weight gain, or just stubborn inflammation in general. And often women are told it's all in their head, or you have labs done and it's like your labs are fine, which in turn makes you feel like it's all in your head. But guess what? It's not. I want to shift this away from fear and into empowerment for everybody. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need another extreme diet. You don't need to live in fear of food. So, what does matter is lowering the inflammatory load that your body is carrying. So, and that starts with supporting the gut. So, here are three gut focused ways to support heart health without going extreme. I don't like extremes, and I think y'all know that by now. So, first is reduce gut inflammation. That means paying attention to how foods actually make you feel, not what's trending or labeled healthy. Second is support digestion and elimination. So, daily bowel movements are crucial. Like that is a non negotiable. Daily bowel movement is crucial. Bowel flow also matters. Fiber matters, but only if you tolerate fiber. In certain gut imbalances and dysbiosis, you may find that fiber actually makes you feel worse, which is not uncommon. So that's usually an indicator that there's something deeper that needs to be addressed. And the third thing is stabilizing blood sugar. That one is literally the low-hanging fruit that can make the most impact for every single woman I work with. Stabilizing blood sugar. Blood sugar swings damage blood vessels just as much as high cholesterol does, and the gut plays a huge role in this. So these steps look different for everyone, which is why cookie cutter plans fail so many women. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, this finally makes sense, you're not alone. When we support the gut, we don't just improve digestion, we support heart health, we support hormone balance, brain health, energy, and metabolism. So that's what real root cause work looks like. And if this resonated, drop a heart in the comments or tell me, have you ever been told that your labs were fine, but you knew something wasn't right? And if you want help figuring out what your gut is doing behind the scenes, that's the kind of work that I do with connecting the dots on the symptoms to finally make sense for you. So this month, let's stop talking about heart health in isolation and start looking at the whole picture.